Welcome back to the remastered Mega Man Zero No Damage run. Here we are, finally arriving at our enemy's doorstep. This one was actually quite the doozy, let me tell you. Well, more accurately, there was a particular section that really grated on me, but stuff like that's always reserved for the end of the video. For now, time to traverse those passages and listen to the banger that's Enemy Hall. So, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but from now on to the rest of the run, there will be no EMS segments. Why? Because apparently, when I looked in the outtake folder to import them into the editing program, the subfolder for the Neo Arcadia stages were just not there. Either I'm stupid and just forgot to throw them into the folder, or they accidentally got deleted somehow. I've done hard drive scans and couldn't find them at all, and it feels very inauthentic to fabricate recreational failed attempts. It wouldn't have the same magic as something that occurred during the run's recording phase. So unfortunately, you're just going to see breakdown segments from now on. It's not a huge loss anyways. Minus this stage, the Rainbow Devil in the next stage barely gave me any failed attempts, and the final stage wasn't going to have an EMS segment anyway. So yeah, sorry about that. All things considered, Neo Arcadia Shrine is great. It's one of my favorite stages in the game, and for good reason. On the surface, it's a pretty long stage, but in reality, if you know what you're doing, it zooms by as quickly as most of the stages in this run. I know I'll get some comments asking about how I quick killed the Pantheon Aces, and my only response to that is to go and watch part 2 of my Zero Series Tech Guide, which will be linked in a card within the upper right corner of the screen. For about the third time now, What I performed here was called damage stacking, and that video will explain all of that. I'll admit that I have a bit of a bias for this stage, and have run it numerous times, so I can't say a lot of obstacles personally obstructed my progress. Well, except one. Asura Basura. Granted, this mini-boss isn't hard per se, but the fact that the goal is to take no damage makes dealing with its unpredictable nature a lot more tedious. The difficulty in avoiding damage comes from the very start of the battle. If you dodge whatever attack he throws out, you're more or less greenlit to loop him to oblivion. But that there is the problem, folks. RNG, yes, again, determines his pattern, and you have to take preemptive measures to ensure that whatever action he performs at the start doesn't catch you off guard. Good luck trying to YOLO over his head, because there's that 1/3 of a chance that he'll toss his swords in the air above him, thus foiling that plan. Then there's his potential jump slashes, which it's all up to him on what height he'll execute the jump from. This is what makes rushing in to slash him a bad idea as well, considering his high chances of short hopping into a slash to hit you there. Since he needs to be grounded to stun lock him into a loop, you're not knocking him out of the air. What you'd want him to do is to jump high, ample time to dash under him and start the loop right away when he lands. But there's another chance that he'll just be a jerk and decide to do 2 jump slashes, like he did in this successful take. So for the sake of progression, I just sucked it up and waited the punk out to stop being such a spaz. Sometimes you just have to take the more patient route when dealing with the RNG. The rest of the stage induces no ire unto me, so let's move on to Herculious. Honestly, this wasn't an ideal battle against him, as the final stage refight shows a more cleaner battle, but since this stage is quite active, it's a tall order to keep track of how many walls I kicked and whatnot to get a fixed pattern. I'll leave that stuff to speedrunners. So I had to approach him a bit more cautiously than other bosses, simply because I had no real clue on what he'd do, and had to rely on his basic AI behavior and reflexes. Herc is prone to attack you point blank with his fast attacks if you're close enough to a wall with your back turned to it, so it's best to keep him pinned on the wall, so he'll be forced to either attempt to ram you or jump into his aerial attacks. Despite there being no EMS to display the challenge behind obtaining victory, you'll just have to take my word for this ranking, and based off what I've explained in the breakdown. This one was one of the harder stages to record, but it was still a blast to run through this again. Still a shame I couldn't get any bloopers out, but it's whatever. What can you do? Again, they were going to be short anyway, so it's not a huge loss. Next up is the Rainbow Devil. Until then, take it easy, y'all.